What kind of person demands a refund for $1's worth of stickers? Screaming loud enough to silence a crowded store. Karen Miller was that person, storming into Harper's Craft Emporium on a humid Saturday afternoon. Her voice a piercing siren cutting through the hum of shoppers. Her purse swung like a weapon as she marched to the counter, her face twisted in a scowl that seemed to radiate contempt. She slammed a crumpled packet of glittery stickers onto the counter, the kind kids used to decorate notebooks, and barked, "These are garbage. I want my money back." The cashier, a 19-year-old named Sophie, froze, her hands trembling as she reached for the packet. Karen's eyes gleamed with the thrill of confrontation, her lips curling into a smirk as if she'd already won. The store, a cozy haven of yarn and scrapbook supplies, felt like a battlefield the moment she arrived. Sophie, barely a month into her job, tried to keep her voice steady. "Ma'am, can you explain what's wrong with them?" she asked, her fingers brushing the torn plastic. Karen's response was a verbal onslaught. "They're cheap. They peel off. My daughter's project is ruined because of your shoddy products." Her voice rose, drawing stares from customers browsing nearby. A woman with a toddler glanced over, then quickly turned away, as if Karen's rage might spill over. Sophie, swallowing hard, inspected the packet. The stickers were mangled, some torn in half, others crumpled like they'd been scraped off a surface. "Ma'am, these look damaged. Our policy doesn't cover refunds for used or damaged items," Sophie said, her voice barely above a whisper. Karen's face reddened, her eyes narrowing. "Are you calling me a liar?" she snapped, leaning over the counter, her bulk casting a shadow over Sophie. The air grew thick with tension as Karen's accusations escalated. She claimed the stickers were defective from the start, that Harper's was scamming customers with trash products. Sophie, trained to stay polite, felt her heart race. She glanced at the manager's office, hoping for rescue. Karen noticed and sneered, "Go ahead. Get your boss. I'll tell them how incompetent you are." The other customers in line shifted uncomfortably, one quietly slipping away to avoid the scene. Sophie's hands shook as she pressed the call button for the manager, her mind racing with the fear of being berated in front of everyone. Karen, sensing weakness, doubled down. "You're too young to know anything about customer service," she spat. "I've been shopping here for years, and I've never been treated like this." The manager, a calm woman in her 40s named Linda, emerged from the back. Her presence was a quiet force, her eyes scanning the situation with practiced precision. "What's the issue here?" she asked, her tone neutral but firm. Karen launched into her tirade again, embellishing the story with every retelling. The stickers, she claimed, had ruined her daughter's school project, embarrassed her in front of other parents, and cost her hours of work. Linda listened, her face unreadable, then picked up the sticker packet. She held it to the light, turning it slowly. "These stickers have been forcibly removed," she said, her voice cutting through Karen's bluster. "The tears and adhesive damage suggest they were applied and then scraped off. That's not a manufacturing defect." Karen's jaw tightened, but she didn't back down. "You're accusing me of lying? I'll have your job for this," she roared. Linda didn't flinch. She reached under the counter and pulled out a small tablet, swiping to the store's security footage. "Let's take a look," she said calmly, her fingers moving with deliberate ease. Karen's smirk faltered, a flicker of unease crossing her face. The footage showed Karen's daughter, a sullen teenager, peeling stickers off a notebook in the store's craft corner the previous day, laughing as she crumpled them and tossed them back into the packet. The camera caught Karen watching, not intervening, her arms crossed as if supervising the destruction. Sophie's eyes widened as she watched, relief washing over her. Karen, however, exploded. "That's an invasion of privacy," she shouted, her voice cracking. "You can't record customers like that." Linda's response was measured. "We record to protect our staff and inventory. This footage shows the stickers were damaged by your daughter, not defective." The confrontation drew a small crowd, customers whispering as Karen's outrage grew more unhinged. She demanded to speak to the owner, claimed she'd sue, and even threatened to post about the scam on social media. Linda remained unmoved, her voice steady as she explained the store's policy again. We can't refund damaged goods, but I can offer you a replacement packet at a discount. Karen scoffed, her face contorting with disdain. A discount? You think I'm some beggar? I want my money back, and I want it now. The standoff was electric, the air charged with the weight of Karen's entitlement clashing against Linda's quiet resolve. Sophie, caught in the middle, felt her stomach churn, wondering how far this would go. Then came the twist, a small, unexpected detail that shifted the mood. A customer, an older woman with gray hair and a kind face, stepped forward from the crowd. I saw your daughter yesterday, she said softly, her voice trembling but clear. She was ripping those stickers apart and laughing about it. I thought it was strange, but I didn't want to cause a scene. The store fell silent, the weight of her words hanging heavy. Karen's face drained of color, her mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. The older woman's gentle accusation wasn't malicious, but it carried the sting of truth, amplified by her unassuming demeanor. Sophie felt a surge of gratitude, while Linda's lips twitched in the faintest hint of a smile. Karen, for the first time, seemed to shrink, her bluster faltering under the unexpected witness. Karen's eyes darted around the store, searching for an escape from the older woman's quiet revelation. The crowd's murmurs grew louder, a mix of shock and amusement rippling through the onlookers. She straightened, her face hardening as she tried to reclaim control. You're all ganging up on me, she bellowed, pointing a trembling finger at the older woman. You don't know what you're talking about. This store is a scam, and you're all in on it. Her voice cracked, betraying a hint of desperation. The accusation fell flat, the crowd unmoved by her theatrics. The older woman, undeterred, shook her head sadly. I'm just telling what I saw, dear. No need to shout. Her calm sincerity was a knife, cutting through Karen's bravado with surgical precision. Linda seized the moment, her voice steady as she addressed Karen. Ma'am, we've shown you the footage, and now we have a witness. The stickers were damaged by your daughter, not defective. Our policy is clear. She slid the tablet back under the counter, her movements deliberate, signaling the conversation was nearing its end. Karen's face twisted, her lips pursed as if chewing on her next move. Sophie watched, her heart still pounding, but a spark of courage flickered within her. She'd been silent too long, cowed by Karen's aggression. I'm sorry your daughter's project didn't work out, Sophie said, her voice soft but firm. But we can't refund something that was intentionally damaged. The word surprised even her, a small act of defiance against the woman who'd made her feel so small. Karen's gaze snapped to Sophie, her eyes blazing with renewed fury. You little brat, she hissed, leaning closer, her breath hot with anger. You think you can talk to me like that? I'll have this place shut down. The threat hung in the air, but it lacked the weight it once had. The crowd's mood had shifted, their sympathy now with Sophie and Linda. A man in a flannel shirt muttered, "Give it a rest, lady," loud enough for others to hear. Karen's head whipped toward him, but before she could unleash another tirade, Linda raised a hand. Ma'am, if you continue to disrupt our store, I'll have to ask you to leave. We've offered a fair solution. Take it or not, but this discussion is over. The standoff reached its peak, the air crackling with the promise of escalation. Karen's hands clenched into fists, her face a mask of defiance. For a moment, it seemed she might double down, her pride refusing to yield. But then, another twist emerged, subtle but devastating. The store's phone rang, and Linda answered, her face unreadable as she listened. She nodded, said a few quiet words, and hung up. That was the owner, she said, her eyes locking onto Karen's. He's reviewed the footage remotely and agrees with our assessment. He also mentioned you've tried this before returning damaged goods and demanding refunds. He's banned you from all Harper's locations. The words landed like a thunderclap, the crowd gasping audibly. Karen's mouth fell open, her bravado crumbling as the reality sank in. The revelation was a turning point, exposing Karen's pattern of behavior. She wasn't just a frustrated customer. She was a repeat offender, gaming the system for petty gains. The crowd's whispers turned to open chatter, their judgment clear. Karen's face flushed a deep crimson, her eyes darting to the exit as if calculating her escape. "This is outrageous," she sputtered, but her voice lacked conviction. She grabbed her purse, the sticker packet still on the counter, and turned to leave. But Linda wasn't done. "One more thing," she said, her tone icy. "If you post about this online, as you threatened, we'll share the footage publicly. It's your choice." The warning was a masterstroke, a legal and moral checkmate that left Karen speechless. As Karen stormed toward the door, the crowd parted, their eyes following her retreat. Sophie felt a weight lift, her fear giving way to a quiet pride. She'd stood her ground, backed by Linda's strength and the older woman's courage. The store slowly returned to its normal hum, customers resuming their shopping. But the energy lingered, a shared sense of justice. Karen's departure wasn't the end, though. Linda turned to Sophie, her expression softening. "You handled that well," she said, a rare compliment that made Sophie's chest swell. The older woman, still standing nearby, smiled warmly. "You're stronger than you think, dear," she said before slipping back into the aisles. The incident left its mark on the store, a story that would be retold by staff and customers alike. But for Karen, the consequences were just beginning. Word of her ban spread quickly, amplified by the small-town grapevine. Her social media rants, posted later that day, were met with skepticism, the community already aware of the truth. The footage, though never released, hung over her like a shadow, a reminder that actions had consequences. Sophie, meanwhile, found herself changed. The timid girl who'd feared Karen's wrath was gone, replaced by someone who'd faced a storm and emerged standing tall. The fallout from Karen's outburst rippled beyond the store's walls, a cautionary tale that took on a life of its own. By Monday, the incident was the talk of the town, shared in coffee shops and group chats. Karen's name became synonymous with entitlement, her story a warning to others. She tried to spin the narrative online, posting a scathing review of Harper's, but the comments section turned against her. Locals who'd heard the story or witnessed it called her out, their responses sharp and unrelenting. "You got caught, Karen," one wrote. "Maybe don't let your kid ruin stuff next time." The post, meant to rally support, instead became a digital pillory, each comment chipping away at her credibility. Karen's world began to unravel in ways she hadn't anticipated. The ban from Harper's wasn't just a blow to her pride. It was a practical loss. The store was the only craft supplier in town, and her daughter's school projects relied on its inventory. She tried ordering online, but shipping costs stung, and the sting was worse knowing she'd brought it on herself. Her daughter, embarrassed by the public spectacle, grew distant, her usual chatter replaced by sullen silence. Karen's friends, once quick to nod along to her complaints, began to pull away, tired of her endless grievances. The isolation was subtle but real, a slow bleed of social capital she hadn't realized she'd squandered. Back at Harper's, the incident sparked change. Linda, inspired by Sophie's quiet courage, started a training program for new staff, emphasizing how to handle confrontational customers without losing their cool. Sophie became the program's first success story, her confidence growing with each shift. She no longer flinched when a customer raised their voice, her hands steady as she rang up purchases. The older woman who'd spoken up, whose name was Margaret, became a regular, always stopping to chat with Sophie. Their conversations were small but meaningful, a reminder that kindness could outshine even the loudest anger. The store itself felt different, its staff closer, its customers more loyal, as if the shared victory over Karen had forged a quiet bond. The legal consequences for Karen were minimal but pointed. The store's owner, true to his word, enforced the ban across all locations, and a formal letter arrived at Karen's home, outlining the terms. It cited her history of fraudulent returns, a paper trail she couldn't deny. The letter warned that further attempts to manipulate the store's policies could lead to legal action, a threat that loomed large in her mind. Karen, who'd once thrived on bending rules, found herself cornered, her usual tactics useless against a business that had documented her every move. The letter sat on her kitchen counter, a daily reminder of her misstep, its words as unyielding as Linda's voice had been. Yet the story's true power lay in its inspiration. Sophie, once a nervous teenager, found herself mentoring new hires, sharing her story with a quiet pride. "You don't have to be loud to be strong," she'd tell them, her words carrying the weight of experience. Linda, too, found renewed purpose, her calm leadership a beacon for the staff. Margaret, the older woman, started volunteering at the local community center, inspired to speak up for what was right. The store became more than a place to buy supplies. It was a hub of resilience, a testament to the strength found in standing together. Customers shared their own stories of dealing with entitled people, each tale reinforcing the idea that justice, though slow, was possible. Karen, meanwhile, faced a reckoning she couldn't shout her way out of. Her daughter's school, alerted to the incident, held a meeting about accountability, using the story as a teaching moment. Karen sat through it, her face burning, as parents discussed the importance of owning mistakes. She never apologized, but her silence spoke volumes, a tacit admission that her actions had consequences. The community didn't shun her outright, but their trust was gone, replaced by a wary distance. She'd always seen herself as a force, unstoppable and righteous, but now she was just a cautionary tale, her name whispered with a mix of pity and scorn. The story of Karen's sticker tantrum didn't end with her defeat. It grew into something larger, a reminder that even the smallest moments could carry profound lessons. For Sophie, it was the spark that lit her confidence, proof that courage could bloom in the face of fear. For Linda, it was a reaffirmation of her role as a leader, guiding her team through storms with grace. For the community, it was a call to stand up, to speak truth, and to hold fast to fairness. And for Karen, it was a mirror, reflecting the cost of unchecked entitlement. The stickers, worth less than $1, became the catalyst for a transformation none of them could have foreseen, a ripple that touched lives far beyond the store's walls.